And something else I'll show here. I'm not much for aesthetic approach at things. Like if you notice, I don't really have any pictures except for that on the fridge, and that's I just put up, and that I just put up. And actually, I've got a self-portrait drawn by my grandpa Victor when he was in Oakland, California. I imagine he's a young buck there. I never met him. I heard he seen me once when I was a little baby, like 1 year old, but I don't remember my grandpa Victor. But he was Belgian, Welsh, and Flemish, and somewhat of a very profound artist, I would say. He had kind of a abstract, dark uh, tone to his paintings that wasn't objective like the self-portrait. He was also a metal worker, so he made daggers and he worked in a metal fabrication shop or some sort like that. But he worked with steel, and so I believe that dagger is one that he had made. I've seen some other daggers that he'd made that were quite exquisite. These snowshoes here, they belong to a woman named Alma Yatlin or Simon, I think, from Huslia, and I got them during a potlatch in which they give away the belongings of the deceased, and it's usually held years after their passing. And so there was a memorial potlatch for my late sister Reba and Alma and a couple of other deceased relatives. And I got this here snowshoes. I run, uh, I race snowshoes, and I used to be my main mode of transportation when I was living out in the woods, and couldn't go anywhere without them. So uh, when you're racing snowshoes, I mean, when you're running, a lot of times if you're because you're putting so much force forward when you're running, a lot of times your front of your snowshoes will ditch in, and you'll trip forward, or the tips will ditch into the snow when you're trying to pull your foot out, and you'll wipe out. So I strung these when I got them. There was a lot of damage. The epoxy and whatnot, the coating had been come off, and it was deteriorating. And also, all of the binding on this part had this is moose rawhide, babish, it's called, and this is twine that held was fine, so I didn't have to redo that. Thank goodness, because that's a lot of work. But I did redo all this. I had to study close. These snowshoes were originally made by a guy named um, uh, George Albert from Ruby, and he's famous for making these types of snowshoes, and you can tell his work. So I restrung them on the inside. I had to study another pair of snowshoes I had real closely and intently to figure out the design. And typically, the this part right here comes across here, but like I said, I wanted to try them for racing, so I moved the whole thing back a little bit, so your feet are a little bit further back, which gives you a little more flotation up front, so that you can run with a full stride and not worry about ditching in. Otherwise, you're kind of like running with your arms out forward to keep, because you got to lean back to keep the front from ditching in. But since you're leaning back and you're running full sprint, you got to keep your arms out forward doing that kind of. And I always say it looks like Jack Sparrow in Pirates of the Caribbean. You know, he's always running like that. Yeah, so that's how I was running before. And with this layout, it seems a little bit better, where you can get a little bit more of a sprint gait while you're running through the deep snow. Unfortunately, nowadays during snowshoe races, we don't break trail too much. Usually, running on top of snow machine trail, so um, these don't really apply. I mean, you don't need that unless you're breaking trail. Not too many snowshoe races in the villages anymore. Do you break trail? I wish it were more so, because I'm light and I get that way. The cross here, well, it's just a simple cross made from furniture from the transfer site, probably, and I just screwed it together. I like the look of its simplicity, and that's that. I like it. Amen.